Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most disgusting and disturbing FNAF fan games ever created. From grotesque visuals to concepts that make your skin crawl, these games aren't just trying to scare players, they're trying to make them uncomfortable. Some of these are so unsettling that you'll probably wish you could unsee them, so let's dive into them. What do you think is the most overused and bloated genre in the FNAF community? I know that might seem like a weird question, but in recent years, I really think I've come up with a really good answer to it. Just something that you see in FNAF games that has become sickening to see. Maybe you think the ransomware trend has run its course and needs a break for a while. Maybe you think boss fight nights have been done to death and we need something new. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Well, for me personally, I think every other FNAF game being about Fredbear has been done so much and I just really need a break. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed from me bringing this up, that is the type of game we'll be talking about today. And no, unfortunately for you, it isn't Fredbear game number 998433, so if you were hoping for that today, I apologize. But stick around because I think you'll really like this one too. Maybe. The game we'll be talking about today is called Welcome to Fredbears, and I'm willing to bet that even if you've seen this game before, you might not know which one it is just from me talking about it, since all of the titles of the Fredbears games are pretty much exactly the same. I would explain what the game is about, but that's what the entire video is, so just strap in, try the Big Mac meal for the first time, and let's get right into Welcome to Fredbears. Welcome to Fredbear starts with an opening cutscene. In this game, we actually play as William, which I think is pretty cool. We get a call from an unknown number, and the man on the other end explains that he works at a storage facility in Utah. I personally didn't even know anybody actually lived in Utah. I thought that was just like some fairy tale place, but hey, I guess you learn something new every day.
Hello?
Hello?
Am I speaking to William Afton?
Yes, and you are?
I'm calling you on behalf of the storage rental of Utah. Unfortunately, we have gone out of business, and we're accordingly emptying out all of our storage units, except for yours due to the excessive amount of items in your units. So please come to the storage facility at your earliest convenience, or you will be fined. If possible, tonight.
With that, William wastes no time and pulls right up to the storage facility like I pull up to Shotty's house after she had 3 bean burritos from Taco Bell. Jesus Christ, dude, we're just getting started. What is wrong with me? After entering the building, we go to find our storage unit, only to see a sticky note on the door explaining that the key to our unit is on the desk in the main room, just making me waste my fucking time walking all the way back to the front desk to pick it up, only for us to then have to walk all the way back. Personally, I'm loving the direction this game is going already, aren't you? By the way, during this opening section, we have a to-do list to guide us along the way of what we're supposed to do. And I personally like to imagine that William is writing these notes to himself so that he knows what he has to do. And I think it's really funny that he's writing basic shit like find a unit, open the unit, like he's retarded and won't be able to remember basic things. Anyways, moving on. With that, we open our storage unit and step inside, only to realize that this just might be the largest storage unit to ever grace the face of the planet, because holy shit, this thing is gigantic. I happen to own a few storage units myself, and not a single one is even close to being this big, but that's really besides the point. Obviously, the real reason we're here is to move all of our belongings out of the unit, which I find odd because we only came here in our tiny little dinky car, knowing full well we have a storage unit full of shit to clear out. I guess we just really want to be moving for the next month straight. And now, would you believe me if I told you that even knowing we have to start moving things out, we don't start moving things out? I know. Hard to believe that we would come to this building and not do the one fucking thing we were tasked with doing. So you might be wondering, if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then what are we doing? Oh shit! Oh shit! Motherfucker old as shit! Look at the motherfucking glasses on that bitch! Dang, a fat motherfucker right here got a big old pot belly out in that bit, boy. Fuck. Well, the answer to that question is simple. All we have to do is walk around the unit and look at sticky notes. As you can see, we have several animatronics around the area, and each is labeled with a sticky note. It seems like these variations of the characters are very early versions of the final designs, which would make sense since most of the Fredbear's games do take place a long time ago. Every time we pick up a sticky note, a page is added to our notebook where we're tricked into thinking that we're going to be learning something interesting about the characters. when in reality, that's not true, and we actually just learn how we're going to have to deal with each of these characters once we finally get into the night sections. Speaking of, when does that actually happen? Fantastic question, viewer of questionable age. I'm rewriting that line. That sounds awful. Fantastic question, viewer who probably isn't actually viewing the video, but is instead listening to it in the background. Let me tell you exactly what happens next. After we look at the last sticky note, we hear an alarm go off. Stepping out of our unit for a moment, we see that the door to the hallway we're in has been closed. Looking around, we see nothing weird, and then somehow fucking Circus Baby appears right next to us. Oh my fucking cry ass, bitch! The fuck was that, ho? Who the hell was that? What the fuck baby bitch doing in here? Tall glass of water looking ass. No, seriously, where the fuck did she come from? We look in both directions and see nothing, and then somehow she's right next to us. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Anyways, we have to do a short QuickTime event to get away from baby and then run to the security office. Now pause. Why the fuck do we have a security office inside of our storage unit? It's not like the security office is to the entire building. No, it's actually specifically inside of our unit. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Oh yeah, it doesn't. After making our way into the office, we see Baby walk up to the window where we learn the first mechanic of this game. Throughout the night, Baby will approach our window. When she does, all we have to do is shut the power to the office off so that she can't see us, and eventually she'll leave. She will do this several times. It's also just scripted here at this moment. Throughout the game, we'll be able to pull out our notebook and read about the animatronics we took notes on, which will soon be attacking us. Something I chose not to do during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. I instead chose to trial and error things for minutes on end because I forgot that I could look at this notebook. It's also in this notebook where we can see William live writing his thoughts instead of defending himself. This game is split into hours rather than nights, and on the first hour, he writes this.
Building power. It seems like the power in the building is out, except for this security office. The computer seems to be working. I can probably use it to get the power in the building up and running again. Until then, I'll just have to survive.
And with that, we're thrown into the first hour of the game, and this video can finally start sounding like all of my other videos. To start, let's go over the office and the tools at our disposal. During the free roam section, we picked up a flashlight, and we still have that now. We can flash this light, which is exactly how a flashlight works, so I don't know why I told you that. To our left, we have the door to this tiny room. It can be toggled and thankfully has no power system. You will see how I abuse this game's kindness with this mechanic a bit later. And finally, to our right, we have the second threat this game introduces, which I guess I'll talk about right now since he's literally right in our office. This is Fredbear. You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't Fredbear one of the characters that we saw out in the storage area? And you would be right in saying that. However, this is also Fredbear. It's just another one because why make a new character when we could just fucking not, right? Yay, creativity! Throughout the night, Fredbear will try to get up and attack you. Dealing with him is incredibly easy. All you have to do is occasionally hold your flashlight on him and he'll sit his fat happy ass back down. Your flashlight also has no power, so you'll be happy to hear you don't really ever have to worry about that. Finally, the last thing to talk about is the way the night progresses. Even though we have a clock on our desk, that is very misleading as this game is not completed based on time, but is instead a task-based completion game, which you know what that means. No actual task, and it's just waiting with extra steps. Also on our desk is a computer. Turning on the computer will show two things that we have to reboot, the ventilation and the power. When you click on them, they will slowly start to reboot. And once both of them are rebooted, then the hour will be over. Very boring, but sure, whatever, I guess. Something I want to mention about Baby, since it actually makes sense to mention it now, is what happens when you turn the power off to deal with her. Well, that's very simple. Not only does your door open if it was closed, but of course your computer will turn off as well and progress to rebooting will be paused. Now, that's not a problem at all, but what is a problem is the embarrassing amount of times I forgot to turn the computer back on, leading to the night taking way fucking longer than it ever needed to. So, even though Baby did follow us to the room this night, she surprisingly isn't actually active at this point in time. Who is active, however, is Fredbear. No, not the Fredbear in our office. Well, yes, he is active too. I'm talking about the other Fredbear, the one that we saw a bit earlier. In hour 1, we're attacked by 2 Fredbears at the same time. Talk about the worst double penetration of your life. This is a train you never want to ride on. Fredbear 2, as I will be calling him from now on, will be present outside of your door. Slowly throughout the hour, he will creep closer and closer to your office like Jared Fogle used to creep closer to playgrounds in broad daylight. All you have to do is literally the exact same thing as the Fredbear in our office. Occasionally flash your light through the doorway to scare him away. So as long as you're doing that semi-frequently, you'll be fine. And you'll be doing it a lot because this is what the gameplay looks like all the time.
All I know is DDF, AAF, DDF, AAF. That's all I know.
But yeah, that's all this first hour has to offer, except you'll be excited to hear that this game actually has some post-night minigames that are just as mind-numbing as the actual nights. Aren't you just so fucking excited? I know I am. After the reboot is up, obviously the power goes out since it's all rebooting. During this time, we need to turn around and replace 3 fuses in the generator so that the reboot can be completed. Doing this is very easy, but very time-consuming. You will have to very slowly unscrew 6 different screws to get the fuses out. Each screw will take about 30 fucking seconds to undo, so be prepared to be here for the next 8 years. I'm not very good at math. After all of the screws are out, you have to remove the 3 fuses, grab 3 more from a box on your right, and replace them, then re-screw the goddamn screws. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Of course, it's not just that easy. Everybody knew it wasn't going to be that easy. During this minigame, you're armed with a lighter. What happened to your flashlight? I literally have no idea. It's not tied to power, so I don't see why we couldn't use it, aside from the fact that the dev thought using a lighter during this section would just be more creepy. Who really knows? Both Fredbear and Bonnie will be coming for your cheeks during this section. However, you'll notice that it's really only ever Fredbear that's a problem, and you'll understand why once I explain how they work. You will have to listen very closely since they both are pretty quiet. Fredbear will attack from your left and Bonnie will attack from your right. When you hear Fredbear moving, all you have to do is turn left and hold your lighter in his face until he sits back down. Something about this lighter though is that it doesn't always light up properly on the first go. So you'll have to flick it quite a few times, which I will admit is pretty nerve-wracking and is pretty fucking cool. I'll explain Bonnie a bit later since the chances of him attacking you during this section are pretty much 0. So for now, let's finish up the fuses and reboot the power and start on the next hour. Something I do actually like about this game is how it really feels like it's one constant night throughout. After you finish the fuse, you turn back around and the next hour continues right there. It's just a simple detail, but a lot of the time it's the simple details I like the most. This hour does introduce someone new, who is really just a copycat of a character we've talked about already. You know, recently, as I've been looking for games, I've been going back on older games I've played on Dxtr Black and wondering why I've never made videos about them. Now that I've finally been starting to do that, it's pretty obvious to me why I haven't. A lot of the FNAF games I've played really just don't have a lot to talk about, and I don't want my videos to be under 20 minutes. That's why a lot of the time in these newer Dxtr White videos, you'll hear me go on retarded tangents more often. I don't want you guys to have a 10-minute video to watch. Anyways, moving on. The new character introduced on this night is Bonnie. Hey, awesome, we were just talking about you. Now, technically, this character is Spring Bonnie. However, the sticky note calls him Bonnie, so I'm going to be calling him Bonnie too, since that takes a lot less time to type. And I have a pounding migraine right now. I want to get this script writing section of the video's pipeline done as fast as I possibly can. Bonnie is pretty much just Baby, and by pretty much, I mean he literally is. Bonnie will occasionally walk up to the window in front of you. When he does, all you have to do is turn the power off until you hear him knock on the glass, and then a few seconds later, you'll be able to turn the power back on again. And for the love of fuck, do not forget to turn your computer back on like I did.
Oh shit. I wonder how many more times I'm gonna forget to turn that thing on and just absolutely just fucking ream myself.
Anyways, now we can move on to talking about the post-hour minigame. Hooray! You may be wondering what there even is to talk about here since it's going to be the same thing every single time. And that's a very good question. But worry not, I have an answer for you. On this hour is when Bonnie will finally be here in this reboot section. However, he's also joined by the other Fredbear. Fredbear 2 works the exact same as Fredbear 1, except he attacks the opposite side. Same shit, different day with him. Just turn your lighter on and he'll go away. Bonnie, however, is a bit different and is literally completely useless as a character during this section. He will only ever attack your right side, and he has a different sound cue that plays from Fredbear 2. The difference between the sound cues values is incredibly noticeable, so you will literally never mess them up and confuse the two. When Bonnie attacks, all you have to do is not turn the lighter on, so you can literally just fucking ignore him. It's not even like you can't move. No, you can move as much as you want. You can even keep unscrewing and he won't bother you. So like, what is even the point of having him there? I have no idea. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. Let's move on to the next office hour. Hour 3 is quite literally the exact same as Hour 2. No new threats are introduced. Everyone is just a little bit more aggressive. That is, except for Bonnie, who is a fuck ton more aggressive. So much so that you may have him attack pretty much the moment you turn the power back on. He means business and he's not messing around. And of course, when you're like me and forget to turn the computer back on, with how much he attacks, this hour will slow to a fucking crawl. It's completely brutal and one of the most painful experiences I've ever been through. And I've been mauled by a dog and hit by a car, so that's saying a lot. I really just feel like there could have been so much more done with this game. Truly, they had a pretty interesting free roam section at the beginning of this game, and they just don't use it anymore. This gameplay loop of turning back and forth is the rest of the game. I think it could be really interesting if, let's say, for example, after completing an hour, the batteries to our flashlight died, and we had to exit the security office and walk around the darkness looking for new batteries while the animatronics patrolled around and we only had our lighter. I know I personally hate stuff like that, but really anything would be an improvement from how boring this game really feels. And like, not even introducing a new character each hour makes it even worse. It's so boring. Like, I just saw Fredbear, Fredbear 2, and Bonnie. Why are you only giving me them again? Add something new. Even if it's not a new character, add a new mechanic. Make the task you have to complete each night something different, not just a fucking waiting simulator. Make one of the tasks be a mini game where you have to move through a maze or something, like the Tron game you have to play when you're doing heists in GTA Online. That'd be so fucking cool. But no, instead we're given barnacle dick, bottom of the barrel ChatGPT ass ideas. Actually, that's not even true. I bet ChatGPT could think of a somewhat different way to spice up the gameplay a little bit. This game looks really good and the voice acting we've heard is amazing. It's just really disappointing that the actual gameplay of the game isn't interesting at all. Anyways, of course, after completing the task, we turn around and do the exact same fuse box task again, which by the way, I will mention is very odd. Why are we having to replace the fuses every hour? This seems very counterintuitive. William has to be spending upwards of $12,000 on fuses monthly to keep this shit lit up. And we know he is because when we first entered the unit, the lights were on. And from the phone call, it sounds like he hasn't been there in a while. So like, what the actual fuck is going on? So much of this game just doesn't make any sense. But whatever, let's just move on to the next hour where hopefully something new is introduced. Hour 4 or 3 a.m. once again, and I'm not kidding, literally introduces nothing new again. Once more, it's just Fredbear, Fredbear 2, and Bonnie, except they're more aggressive than before. But spoiler alert, there's so little to do during this game that even if their AI is increasing, you really won't be able to tell since it's not any harder. Flash, turn, turn, flash, turn, turn, flash, repeat. If you ever hear Bonnie, shut the power off. When that is the gameplay loop, it really doesn't fucking matter how fast you make the characters, since the only difference you'll actually notice is that each night turns into a fucking slog because you have to turn the power off for way longer, meaning that your tasks aren't being finished, which doesn't make the game more challenging, it just makes the game way more uninteresting. If you haven't noticed, we're halfway through this game and we haven't had to close the door a single time. During my playthrough, I was choosing to, but there's literally no character throughout the game so far that would make you close this stupid door. I'm honestly confused why we can't have it closed the whole time. Sure, Fredbear 2 will kill us, but I wonder how that's even possible. If we have a robot that's able to open the only door defending us, I think we have a much bigger issue on our hands in all honesty. Since I literally have nothing to talk about right now, I guess I could bring up what happens if you don't turn the lights off for Bonnie, since I'm just now noticing I didn't do that. If you don't turn the power off, he'll punch a hole in your window like he's Blank from Five Nights at Candy's. That's about it. But guys, come on, can you tell I've really got nothing to work with in this game? And of course, the post-night minigame is nothing different at all. Fuck trying something new and exciting, right? The entire FNAF community are all retards and they'll just eat up anything you put in front of them. And that pisses me off because it worked on me. I beat the fucking game even though I thought it was boring. Maybe I'm the problem. I have no idea. I want to keep yapping about stuff since I can tell this script really isn't going to be much longer if this game keeps going in the direction it's going in, but I've really got nothing else to talk about here, so let's just move on to Hour 5. Hour 5 thankfully does actually give me something else to talk about. 2 new things, actually. Don't know why you couldn't have just split them up so that the last night wasn't so fucking useless, but oh well, I suppose. This night reintroduces Baby, so let's get to talking about her since her mechanic has changed just slightly. Same thing as before. She'll walk up to your window on occasion just like Bonnie, and all you have to do is turn the power off. But then she'll walk to the left. This signals that she's about to attack your door, so you'll need to close it. Now you might be thinking, how are you going to be able to turn the power back on and close the door by the time Baby is able to get over to it? Well, come on in real close because that's a really good question. And luckily I do have an answer. You're just not really gonna like it. You can actually close the door while the power is out. Yes, I'm serious. I lied before. There's just so many goddamn problems here. I don't even know where to start. What do you mean the door can close while there's no power? It's a mechanical door. It needs power. What is this bullshit? Name one other FNAF game with a closable mechanical door that can be closed while there's no power. I'll wait. Oh yeah, it fucking isn't any because that's stupid and doesn't make any fucking sense, now does it? That means that the only thing the power controls is the light to the room we're in. No, not the flashlight, the room light and the computer. That's literally it. What do we even need to reboot anything for? This seems completely pointless now. I could probably talk all day about this, and while I would love to pad out for runtime, I also don't want to piss you guys off, so let's just move on. The final threat introduced on this night is Foxy, who is probably the most useless character in this entire game. And I know that may come to you as a surprise, because every character in this game seems pretty useless. Foxy attacks via the door. And I bet from myself saying that you can already guess exactly how he works and exactly why he's so useless. But in case you aren't able to put those pieces together by yourself, allow me to assist you. Occasionally, Foxy will sprint at your door and you'll have to close it to stop him from eating your butt. However, since the door has no limit to how long it can be closed for and it doesn't open when your power is off, you will probably never see Foxy throughout your entire playthrough. Just occasionally hear him slam on the door. This may make you wonder what I was talking about earlier where I said I was going to abuse this game's kindness. Editor, run it back. You will see how I abuse this game's kindness with this mechanic a bit later. This is that point. Since you still need to have the door open to be able to check on Fredbear 2, you can't literally have it closed the entire night. And I get the funny feeling that with this in mind, the dev thought the possible problem of closing it the entire night would be solved. But guess what, fucker? You couldn't be more wrong. All you have to do is open the door, quickly flash in less than a second to reset Fredbear. Since, contrary to what I've seen other people do in their playthroughs, you don't actually have to hold the flashlight on him until he leaves. You just have to hit him with it for longer than 1 frame. Then all you have to do is immediately close the door again. And if you get good enough at doing this, even if Foxy just so happens to be running at your door in the exact moment you open it, it won't be open for nearly long enough for him to enter the office. So he is quite literally a useless character. Awesome. So even though 2 threats were introduced on this night, it's basically like no threats were introduced at all. I love my life. Speaking of useless, we have the next post-night minigame to talk about. And this time around, it actually does do something a little bit different than the previous ones. Just kidding. I fucking lied like normal. It's just as boring and repetitive as the other post-night minigames we've mentioned. So let's stop wasting our time and just move on to Hour 6. Hour 6, surprisingly, once again introduces something new to the mix. And I'm actually not lying this time. However, with them introducing a new character on this night, it actually means that each hour could have had one thing introduced each, and this game just chose not to do that, which will forever be mind-boggling to me. This new character is Freddy, I think. I have no idea what the fuck it is. When you guys see it, you will have to comment down below on who you think this is supposed to be because I really can't tell. This new threat, who I'll call Freddy, is another window attacker, since we've already established that the door is useless. When he approaches your window, he makes it clear that he has night vision, since turning off the power will not be enough to stop him. What you'll have to do instead is actually a lot less annoying, but hey, at least it's something new. Once he approaches, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on his face until he leaves. leaves. This could have been a good opportunity to turn him into a sort of Candy's 3 fight where he moves his head around and you'll have to follow it, but unfortunately that did not happen and he's just stationary. But again, at least it's something new that actually makes me have to do something else. And from what I could tell during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, he doesn't make any sound cues when he reaches your window, giving you an actual reason to flash the window consistently because up until this point, you didn't have to, and for some reason, you can't even really see him in the window. While I am happy that this game has started to pick up on things to talk about, I do wish they were a bit more interesting so I could talk about them a little bit longer without repeating myself. But sometimes I just can't be that lucky. So once we repair this shit one last time, there's only one more thing to do. And no, it's not another repair post-night minigame, thankfully. Instead, it's just listening to a cutscene that, in all honesty, is pretty cool. So I'll just let you guys sit back and take a look.
Hello, William. It's me. You still recognize me, don't you? Well, you should, I suppose. After all, it was you who left me like this. Why didn't you do anything? Scared of getting the blame. Now standing here, 17 years later, all the blame falls on you. 17 years, William. You left me here for 17 years. Soaking in my own blood. Rotting in our creation. Praying you would return. Now you're here. You've endured what I couldn't. And now you have to live with it. Our legacy.
And there we go. An unknown person walks up to us in a Springlock suit. I can only assume this person is supposed to be Henry since he refers to the suit he's in as our creation and we play as William. But I actually think this is a really interesting twist on the original story. Instead of William dying in the Springlock suit, Henry did, and William just hid his corpse away in a storage unit for 17 years, which is an insanely long time to be conscious and unable to do anything. So I can totally see Henry's frustration here. However, of course, you guys know me. I always find a way to complain about something, and I found something that doesn't make sense during this cutscene to point out. Do you want to tell me how the hell that text was appearing on the screen? How was Henry able to set that up? Did he program that into the monitor and then rehearse the actions he does at the window for 17 years just waiting for William to arrive? That's really the only thing I could think of that would make this make any sense at all. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But with that, that's all Welcome to Fredbear's has to offer. What it really has to do with Fredbear, aside from the fact that there are 2 Fredbears in it, I really don't know. I feel like this game could have done a lot better with a better name, but what do I know? Overall, I think Welcome to Fredbear's looks wonderful and has some nasty and awesome character designs. However, the gameplay loop is just so unfulfilling, boring, and headache-inducing from all of the whiplash that I really just couldn't enjoy it fully. And while I do think that the final cutscene is pretty cool, and I like the way this game changed the original story, I don't quite think that's enough to warrant me recommending this game to people who are looking for an interesting FNAF experience. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this is actually one of the coolest FNAF games of all time? Let me know in the comments below. In my Jackie's Forest video, I asked you guys what your favorite hidden gem FNAF game was and why, and my favorite answer was this one by Fish and Chips 123. They said Five Nights at Homer's, and that's a game I don't hear about all too often. I fully intend on covering it at some point in the future. However, I also know that it's incredibly difficult, and that's why I haven't done it quite yet. Banshee was easily one of, if not the scariest Five Nights at Freddy's game I had ever played. Amazing atmosphere, wonderful sound design, and even pretty damn good game mechanics to go along with it. I've of course covered it on this channel before, and if you haven't already, you should go give that video a watch after this one. The game we'll be covering today reminds me of Banshee in a lot of ways, easily being another one of the most horrifying FNAF experiences I've ever had. However, with all of the good does come some bad, and while I feel there's nothing super bad about the game we're covering today, I do feel like there are a few things that we need to talk about with some very good tips for future game devs. The game we'll be covering today is Midnight at Star Stage, one of the newest FNAF fan games on the market with a lot of hype behind it. Today, we'll be diving into the game, talking about its story, gameplay mechanics, pros, and cons. So strap in with me as we peek behind the curtains of Midnight at Star Stage. Jumping right into night one, wasting no time, there's something super obvious I want to get out of the way immediately. This game looks and feels exactly like the FNAF fan game Banshee, like I've already mentioned, and I can't lie, I love it. Absolutely, it's amazing. Banshee's atmosphere was one of the best out of any FNAF fan game I've ever played, and I feel like this game really lives up to that exact feeling. This game is horrifying. To our left and right, we have doors. However, both doors are completely different. The door on our left can only be used for as long as we're holding the switch. However, the door on the right is toggleable, which I actually don't think I've ever seen another FNAF game do. Sure, the original FNAF technically has toggleable doors, but they can't be toggled forever due to the fact that you have power. But there's no power in this game, so I just thought that this was interesting. Of course, we have our cameras, however, there is no camera map. Instead, we have to cycle through the cameras using W and S, which I thought was a little bit weird for controls, but that's not super important at all. This night introduces two threats, so let's talk about them and how terrifying they are. Let's start with the main character, Rocky, one of the most aggressive characters in the entire game. His goal is to get to your office, no shit, but his way of doing so is incredibly intense. Just like Foxy, he will sprint Mach 104 directly at your office, and the scariest part, he can attack either side. The way you'll be able to tell which side he's going to attack is based on which cameras he goes through. If he goes to camera 3, that likely means he will attack your left door. If he goes to camera 6, that likely means he will attack your right. Oh fuck! Now, when it gets to your door, all you have to do is close it. However, like I said, he is incredibly fast. And when he runs to your door, well, yes, he does make a noticeable sound cue. Just take a look at this clip and see how fast he really is. I don't know, dude, there's no fucking sound cue. What? Yeah, he is very fast. And this game is about to be both really fucking hard and really fucking scary at the same time. Strap in, guys, it's about to get crazy. Anyways, moving on to the next threat we have to talk about, that being Rash the Cat. Rash the Cat really goes to show how difficult this game is going to be, and that mainly comes in the form of how much synergy he has with Rocky. Just like Rocky, Rash too can attack both of your doors. However, he is completely silent. Very reminiscent of Springtrap from Banshee, he will creep up silently to either of your doors and stare at you. All you have to do to make him go away is stare back. Oh my fuck! It's a costume! Why is it moving? We're about to be in for an absolutely wild ride, guys. These characters are terrifying, some of the scariest I've ever seen, right up there alongside Banshee. I think it's pretty clear this game drew a lot of inspiration from Banshee, and I think that's great. They nailed the atmosphere, they nailed the character designs, and they even nailed the pressure that Banshee brought, and we're only in night 1. The synergy Rash has with Rocky is mainly with your right door. Since it's toggleable, the thing you'd want to do is keep it closed, since the reaction time you need for Rocky is scary fast. However, since Thrash is so quiet and makes no sound cues, it leads to you needing to keep that door open so you can constantly check for him. It's a small detail, but definitely one worth talking about. This game doesn't have a task-based completion system like Banshee, instead having the usual time-based one, which I want to be clear I don't think is an issue. Sure, I love it when games try something new, but there's nothing wrong with sticking to the usual. I'm super excited to see what the rest of this game has to offer, so without further ado, let's move on to night 2. Psych! I lied. First, we have to talk about Night 1's post-night minigame, and why I don't give a fuck about it. In it, we have to collect a bunch of bullshit scattered around the building. Boring! I'd rather jump into a glitching wall and get teleported next to a ninja by a campfire. Thank you very much. After teleporting, we touch the fire, and the minigame abruptly ends. Now we can move on to Night 2. Night 2 really goes to show how this game is eventually going to have to be played out, as it adds one of the most annoying threats in this entire game. That being Bowie. Bowie acts as this game's eye slut. That's right, I'm coining a new FNAF term, and I expect it to be used very frequently by everyone in the fandom from now on. Eye slut refers to a character archetype that revolves around said character needing to be stared at, and that's the only fucking mechanic. And this game's eye slut is Bowie. Bowie will randomly move around cameras 3, 6, and 9. Some would even say, damn she fine. If you ever don't glance at Bowie for long enough, he'll appear at your door where no matter what you do, even if you close it, he'll still close the gap between his willy and your butt and start clapping your shit like a crowd after a good performance wanting an encore. The real issue with Bowie isn't even Bowie himself. It's more so due to the fact that it makes Rocky so much scarier. Whereas before, all you really needed to do was watch him so you could tell which side he was going to attack, while Bowie is active, you should be staring at him the entire time. So this leads to you needing to be able to react to Rocky every single time. So if your reflexes are shit, you will be shit at this night and the entire game as a whole. But overall, this night isn't too bad. Now we can move on to the post-night 2 minigame, which is much the same as the first. This time around, we actually play as a different night guard, which is interesting. And this time we're tasked with taking some animatronics to the stage. Boring! I'd rather jump into a glitching wall and get teleported next to a ninja by a campfire. Thank you very much. After teleporting, we touch the fire and the minigame abruptly ends. And now we can move on to night 3. Actually, I lied a bit. I just thought it'd be kind of funny to repeat the ending of the last section since you do the same thing. What I want to talk about is that for some reason during this minigame, the monkey we first see is in the 2D style like everything else. But if you do some exploring, you'll find the other characters, except they'll be in the normal 3D rendered states, which is honestly just super uncanny and creepy. It's cool, it's random, it's unimportant, but I wanted to mention it. Are you guys ready for night 3? I really don't think you are. Like, really ask yourself the question, am I ready to learn about the third night of this game? Dexter's asking me to think about it, so that clearly means I'm about to learn about the most soul-degrading thing of all time. Did you ask yourself the question? Great, let's move on to night 3. Night 3 introduces a certain type of mechanic, a very common mechanic in FNAF games. Almost every single FNAF game has at least one of these, actually. And fun fact, this very mechanic was what spawned the most recent Dexter White song, Nintendo No. Go listen to it. It's on all streaming services, by the way. Is that enough of a hint as to what type of mechanic is slid into my butthole on this night? Well, if it's not, let me help you a bit. This night introduces a fucking monkey. I don't even want to do it the due diligence of saying its stupid fucking name. It's a piece of shit. In fact, it's the same monkey we put on stage in the last minigame. Monkey Dick has his own stage, and thankfully, he's nothing like Bowie, who requires me to stare at him all night. However, he does something arguably worse. Occasionally, at random, throughout the night, he will slam his cymbals together. And now, I want you to take a solid guess as to what it is we have to do after hearing these cymbals. Really think about it. What could this so far amazing game do to just really shoot itself in the foot like a soldier trying to get an honorable discharge? I think I've given you enough time to think about it. After Monkey Fuck smashes his cymbals together, he will teleport to a random fucking camera. God damn it, fuck me right in my rear. This night also introduces the ability to flash your cameras. So all you have to do is find the rape ass monkey and flash him to make him go back to his stage. I quite literally have no idea what makes these games unable to come up with something unique. Don't get me wrong, I think this game is fucking amazing, and this find them on the camera mechanic is nowhere near as terribly integrated as some of the other FNAF games I've played, but please, guys, stop doing this. My poor little heart just can't take it anymore. But aside from that, that's all this night adds. Now we can move on to the post-night minigame. In it, we're driving a car right after a beer. We can choose to hit some deer on the road, but the game would really prefer we didn't. Fuck the actual point of the minigame. We all know that there will be a glitch somewhere. And sure enough, at a certain distance, you will see a glitch. Bam down and you'll be teleported to the fire with the ninja. Touch the fire and the minigame comes to a close. I have no idea what this fire could be symbolizing. And yes, by the way, I know that this is most likely not a ninja, but I'm noticing while writing this that in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I actually never found the glitch in the first minigame. So now I'm dreading having to replay the whole game later. But that's future me's problem. And I don't give two fucks about future me. For now, let's move on to night 4. Damn. We're already on to night 4, huh? Shit, we're just busting through this game all willy-nilly style. Well, there's a new threat introduced on this night, and it's honestly, like, not even a problem at all. Something I'm noticing about this game is that while, yes, it's very scary, and that's awesome, the game is also, like, piss easy, which, don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be the hardest thing on earth, but it's like, you know, a little bit too easy. Anyways, moving on to the threat this night introduces. Floppy. Yes, I'm serious. Get it out of your system. I know it's a completely ridiculous name, but that's his name, and we love him just the way he is. And the way he is basically just a fucking statue. Floppy sits directly outside of your right door, and his mechanic is cool at a glance. Floppy is a weeping angel and will only move when your door is closed and you can't see him. So he directly synergizes with both Rocky and Rash. However, if you've seen my playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, then you'd know that the need to have this door closed at all times isn't really present, as you need the door open at all times to see if Rash is there. So keeping it closed at all times is actually just a pretty bad idea. And it's not even like Floppy moves at an insanely fast rate, because he really doesn't. So for most of the game, it'll be like he's just a fucking decoration. It looks scary and that's cool, but generally speaking, he doesn't really add anything to the gameplay loop, which I do think is very disappointing. I've thought for a bit on how you can make him more interesting without changing his mechanic at all, and I think I have 2 decent ideas. The first being the one I would personally go with. Really make him a weeping angel and force you to look at him, not just have the door open. This would make him much more threatening, albeit the most annoying thing on earth. The only other way you could make Floppy more threatening is somehow designing a way to make closing his door more needed. Because quite literally, the only time you ever need to close the door is the 2 seconds it takes to make Rocky go away. And that's even if he attacks that side in the first place, which of course isn't always guaranteed. But realistically, the best way to solve this problem is to not even have the problem in the first place and just make Floppy do something else. There's plenty of mechanic ideas that devs could take from the other brilliant fan games that exist. Here's a quick tip for FNAF devs. If a character you add doesn't feel like a new threat you have to actively think about, either don't add that character or find a new mechanic for them. Anyways, after completing the night, we of course get a post-night minigame. In it, we play as a sad fat kid. I actually can't confirm if this kid is sad, but I know that if I was fat, I would probably be sad, so I'm just assuming this kid is the same way. In this minigame, all we have to do is walk from one side of town to the other while avoiding cars on the road that are, for some reason, not stopping for the literal roadblock of a child directly in front of them. At 2 points during this minigame, you can see what appear to be a pair of eyes watching us, but I have no idea what this is actually supposed to mean, and I also don't know what the story of this game could be literally at all. Now, for the glitch, which this time around is completely unobvious. If you get all the way to the end of the map, what you're supposed to do is just touch the edge and you'll be booted to the menu. This is what I did on my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. There's blood leaking out of me, knowing that I'll have to go back and fix this, but whatever. If instead of touching the edge, you instead go all the fucking way back, really getting Tubby his exercise, and touch the edge next to where you started, which by the way shows no indication of being glitched, so this is just bullshit, then you will be teleported to the fire with the ninja, touch the fire, and we can move on to night 5. Night 5 introduces one new threat, and I'm honestly surprised that it does. Very uncommonly do I find FNAF games that consistently add a new threat with every night, and I honestly really appreciate this game for doing so, albeit both this threat and last night's threat are pretty lackluster. But before we talk about the threat this night introduces, we need to talk about this night's phone call, because even though it's by far the shortest one, it easily is the most interesting we've heard so far. The phone guy just tells us that tonight will be our last shift, because the floppy suit almost killed the employee who was inside of it. So that's just based in Riz, I can't even lie. Anyways, on to talking about the threat that this night introduces. That being the fucking mouse that the game didn't tell me the name of, so that's just awesome. Mickey Mouse fuck-ass boy adds a mechanic that honestly might as well not even exist. I struggle to figure out whether I think the mouse's mechanic or Floppy's mechanic is more worthless to the gameplay loop. Dicky Mouse will randomly appear on whichever camera you're looking at. When he does, you won't be able to switch between cameras. To make him go away, all you have to do is flash the camera. So just press space and he goes away. That's literally it. He can only appear on the camera you're looking at, so it's not like you're ever going to miss him either. And he's also very forgiving with the amount of time you have to flash him. So really, if you die to this guy, you're just retarded or dead at your keyboard. I really wish I had more to talk about with these mechanics. Sure, I could sit here and complain and bitch and whine and say the mechanics make me want to do something to my penis that will damage it beyond recognition. But I mean, really, just look at the gameplay between night 3 and 5. Tell me if you see much of a difference. Spoiler alert, you won't. In fact, let's actually play a game real quick. Right here, I'm showing you 2 clips from my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. One of them is footage from night 3, and the other is footage of night 5. I want you to take a guess at which video is which. I'll give you a bit. Did you make your guess? Well, fuck you, because both of these clips are night 5. That's how similar they are. So while yes, it's cool that this game is adding more animatronics, I just really wish they'd do something that mattered to the gameplay loop, but they just don't. Anyways, after completing night 5, we don't get a minigame in the same way we usually do. Instead, we get a cutscene. A child is talking to his father. At some point, the child leaves and the father spots one of the mascots and goes to talk to it. Upon interacting with the fucking mouse, we get jump scared and he asks the dad if he needs anything, and the dad says no. So like, why the fuck did you even go up and talk to him in the first place? Either way, with that, night 5 comes to an end. Night 6 is not what I expected at all. Discover it for yourself. Now you see, I don't like that you're saying it like that. What do you mean discover it for myself? Easily being the most interesting night throughout the game, albeit still incredibly easy. Night 6 is a boss fight night with this fucking thing. What the fuck is that? Whoa! What the fuck? The fuck was that? Tell me that wasn't the coolest and most terrifying thing you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, this is the final boss of the game. Do I have a reason as to why it looks like this or what lore significance it has? Literally fucking no. Not at all. But who cares, because he looks fucking sick. The way he works is incredibly easy. He can attack both doors. He works pretty much entirely off sound cues. He will be moaning throughout the entire night, which I will add is very gross, but I guess that's just what he's into, so I'm not gonna kink shame the poor guy. Whenever he moans, that tells you that he's moved. If you ever see him at your left door, all you have to do is hold the door closed. He will begin banging on it, so just make sure you hold it closed until he stops. If it wasn't obvious, all of the other characters aren't activated on this night, so you don't really have to worry. Now, when he attacks your right door, you'll have to do something just a little bit different. You still have to close the door, but for some reason, he really doesn't like it when your computer is on while he's on the right side. Very weird, but we'll listen. So when you see him on the right side, all we have to do is close the door and then turn our computer off and he'll go away. Now, we have to talk about how you actually beat this night, since it's not just as easy as holding off until 6 a.m. like the rest of the nights have been. This is a boss fight night, and this time you're actually fighting a boss. When he moans, it's much more likely for him to just switch cameras than it is for him to appear at your door. He is a find them on the camera character. However, he's the only character in the night, so it's not a big deal. You will have to constantly track him on the cameras and spam your camera flash on him to deal damage. Flashing makes your system crash, so get ready to deal with rebooting your cameras constantly. Deal enough damage on the cameras and this final night will come to a close. However, depending on if you were able to collect all of the fires next to the ninjas in the minigame will determine which ending you get after completing this night. After winning, the creature will force his way into your office like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's and kill you, wherein you get the bad ending. But who cares about the bad ending? The interesting ending comes in the form of collecting all of the fires from the minigames. Now, I'm not kidding about this. I promise. After you beat the night, the creature still kills you. However, the fire slowly rises from the bottom of the screen, and you're spit into a fucking Undertale boss fight with the creature. What the fuck am I playing right now? I'm dead serious. This is not edited. This actually happens in the game. You have to dodge a plethora of attacks, and every once in a while, you'll get the chance to attack. Attack 4 times and it'll fucking die, rewarding us with the good ending, which by the way, is no different from the bad ending. There's no extra story revealed or a cutscene. It's just a boss fight and then an end screen. There's only one other thing I wanted to talk about, and that's a weird minigame you can find hidden in the extras menu. In it, you play as this weird white statue thing. The only thing you can do is find a newspaper clipping on the floor talking about some missing children. That's literally it. I have no idea why this is here. I have no idea what missing children had to do with this game. I failed to pick up on pretty much any lore this game has thrown out, if there was any at all. But for all of you little theorists, have fun with that information. But with that, that's all Midnight at Star Stage has to offer. Overall, I think this game was terrifying. However, I feel like this game was heavily inspired by Banshee. And it was. It almost feels like the dev wanted to make Banshee, but didn't actually fully think about the mechanics of how the game would work. Don't get me wrong, this game looks amazing and it plays well, but the synergies with characters really just aren't there. And I have no idea what the fuck the Undertale boss fight was about, but it was pretty cool. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think Midnight at Star Stage is actually just like Banshee and is almost more perfect in some ways? Let me know in the comments below. In my 5 Nights at Marcus video, I asked you guys what you think is the worst FNAF series ever made. And my favorite answer was everybody who said Jolly, because I think it's pretty obvious that I heavily agree with that statement. I want you to think about the last time you've played a FNAF fan game that has introduced a mechanic you've never seen before. Maybe you think of Junior's deduction game mechanic. Maybe you think of Teelerland's upgrade system. Or maybe you dig really deep and think of One Night at Flumpty's 3 moving camera buttons. Whatever it may be, I'm sure you can agree that seeing a new mechanic is always interesting, and in my opinion is the most enjoyable part of playing FNAF games. I love exploring what people can come up with. Even if the new mechanics are frustrating, I still love them. The game we'll be covering today introduces a mechanic like nothing I've ever seen before. A game so obscure I'd never heard of it, and I'm willing to bet you've never heard of it either. The game we'll be covering today is After Hours at Cody's, a so far one-off FNAF fan game that introduces one of the most interesting game mechanics I've ever seen, while also telling one of the most gruesome and depraved stories I've ever witnessed. You're not going to want to miss what we have in store today, so let's dive into the world of After Hours at Cody's. Before each night, we get a small cutscene to show us a little bit of what we're getting into. In the Night 1 cutscene, we see a mysterious black figure cause one of the animatronics to awaken. And I'm not gonna lie, the animatronic that wakes up is a bit of a bad bitch, I'm not gonna lie to you. But with that, we do start Night 1. Night 1 obviously introduces one threat. But before we can start talking about that threat, we need to talk about the mechanic in this game that makes it so unique: the cameras. Taking a look at them, you'll notice that there's a long bar in the center of the map with one small section of it being red and a small rectangle quickly moving back and forth across it. If you haven't figured out what these cameras are about to do yet, then let me tell you. When you switch cameras, you will need to time the camera switch up with when the small moving rectangle is inside of the red bar. If you mistime it, then the camera you clicked on will load very slowly, and this is a very fast-paced game. If you time it properly, the camera will load almost instantly. This is such an interesting mechanic that I originally thought I was going to hate. But it's because of this mechanic that I've actually put After Hours at Cody's in my top 5 favorite FNAF fan games of all time. But the timing doesn't only relate to how fast your cameras load. If that was all it did, then this mechanic would be pretty lackluster overall. It also plays a much more integral role with a core mechanic of the game: the power. Your power drains pretty quickly in this game. However, there is a way to recharge it. And unlike in most FNAF games where you can recharge power, it's surprisingly not done by holding down a fucking button like a music box. Thank dick. This time around, it's also tied to the timing mechanic in the cameras. Every time you properly time a camera switch, a small battery multiplier will increase by 1 at the bottom of the camera. The higher that multiplier is, the more power will increase, with a maximum multiplier of 30. However, if you don't properly time a switch fast enough, then the multiplier will start to quickly decrease. So constantly switching cameras is a must. I think this is easily one of the most unique mechanics I've ever seen. It adds a level of skill that most other FNAF games just don't have. Most FNAF games' skill ceilings are marked by your reflexes. This one is marked by your rhythm, and I think that's awesome. But anyways, onto the threat this night introduces: Bad Bitch Bella. Or as this game calls her, Bella the Beaver. I think my name is a little bit better though, personally. Bad Bitch Bella has a very simple motive: walk to your office, put a collar on you, and walk you like a dog. You guys can feel free to defend yourself from her, which I will explain how to do in a moment, but I for one will already be on my hands and knees by the time she enters the office. She will try to enter your office through camera 5 or your right door. In camera 5, she'll have 2 stages. One where she's far away from the camera, and another where she's much closer. Once she moves to her second phase, you will have to use your camera's alarm system, which, lucky us, is also tied to the timing mechanic. When you press the alarm button, if you don't time it with the red bar, the audio will not play and you'll have to wait for your alarm to charge back up. When you use the alarm on Bad Bitch Bella, she will look at the camera. When she does, all you have to do is close your door, and eventually she will go back to the stage. If you don't use the alarm on her, she will pound on your door and drain a lot of power before leaving, and then Operation Walk You Like a Dog will be set in motion. Very easy character to explain 2 very important mechanics in this game. I think After Hours at Cody's Night 1 is a great example of properly introducing your game's core mechanics in a way that isn't confusing or overwhelming. Plus, you made the character really hot for no reason at all. This is a children's establishment. Why are the characters hot? That's something I'll never be able to wrap my head around. Now, how do we actually complete the night? Surviving until 6 a.m., Dxtr? You fucking retard? Whoa. Hey now. The people in my comments don't like it when you say that word. Do better, retard. Anyways, no. Surviving until 6 a.m. is not how you complete a night in this game. After Hours at Cody's opts to use a task-based completion system. Now everyone hold your breath, because this could either make or break this game depending on how shitty the tasks are. You can exhale. It's okay. The task is mundane. However, it plays into the game's core mechanic, so it actually makes for a very satisfying gameplay loop. Remember that black figure that brought the bad bitch back to life? Well, that character is known in this game as the Anomaly. And judging by that name alone, I'm willing to bet you can guess what this guy is going to do and what the task system in this game is. The Anomaly has a random chance to appear on any of the cameras in your game at any time. If at any point you find him, you will have to use your alarm on the camera that he's on. When you do, your Anomaly counter will go up. After you find him 10 times, the night will be over. You do have to note that he will not always be on a camera, and if you don't find him fast enough when he appears, he will not stay on a camera forever and will eventually leave. Again, overall this mechanic is pretty boring, but because of how well it ties into the timing mechanic, it serves as one of the most enjoyable FNAF experiences I've ever had. But now on to night 2, except I lied because we actually have a cutscene to talk about first.
My dear friends, the worst has come to pass. As many of you may already know, my brother, Darren, has not been found since his disappearance earlier this year. He meant the world to me, as I'm sure he did to plenty of you too. His astounding creativity and infallible craftsmanship became the source of so many wonderful memories for children all across the country. These moments we shared will remain evergreen to me for as long as I live. Before I continue though, I'd like to show you this. A child at Cody's gave this to me once when I was visiting the restaurant. Wonderful, isn't it? This creativity we inspire. As it pains me to say, I do understand the suspicion people may have had toward me in the months following my brother's disappearance. But please, I urge you all to understand how these events have weighed heavy on me. He was my family too. The threats I've received since then caused me to think about my place in all this. I know I may not have been the most communicative or involved between the two of us, but I still did hold so much love for the work we did together. All this is to say that I will be stepping down as proprietor of Cody & Co. I've had a long and fulfilling career, and I only hope that the kindness I've shown will continue to reflect on the company as I look forward to finding someone new to handle the reins. But until then, I hope only to leave this company in a better state than it currently remains. If my being a part of this only serves to obstruct the joy and wonder that my brother and I wish to impart, then perhaps it is best if I step down and let the magic live on without me. Thank you for everything. I genuinely had a wonderful time.
So, we have two brothers that started this company together, and one of them tragically died. Now, I'm no FNAF expert. Okay, maybe I am a little. I think we're all smart enough to know that the pain in this guy's voice is definitely a little bit sussy. I'm not pointing any fingers here, but if it comes out that his brother is the one who killed him, I would not be surprised in the slightest. Anyways, on to night 2. By the way, if you were curious as to how this game explains the anomaly, well, the phone guy blatantly tells us that we're ghost hunting. Everyone that works in this building knows about this thing and what it can do, and we were more so hired to remove it. If I signed up for a night watch job and got told that, I would walk out of that building before the poor bastard could even hang up. Night 2 introduces one new threat, Morris, who also introduces the last major mechanic this game has to talk about, the curtain behind you. I haven't actually mentioned it so far, but yes, you can turn around in your office to find a curtain. It vaguely reminds me of the curtain from those nights at Rachel's. However, this game isn't mind-numbingly boring like that one is. Morris will slowly creep out from behind the curtains throughout the night. Occasionally, you'll have to turn around and force him back. However, unlike most curtain mechanics like this, it isn't just pulling them closed or holding your light on it. After Hours at Cody's needs to get a little bit quirky. Introducing probably the most frustrating mechanic in the entire game. Next to the curtains, you'll see 4 buttons. Each button has a color. You might be thinking, Dxtr, I'm looking at them and not a single one of them has a color. Well, you see, dear viewer, that's what I thought too. However, no, they do indeed have a color. You just can't see which color each button is until you press it, which I think is very stupid. Morris has 5 phases before jump scaring you. The first phase is the phase you'll mostly see him in. All you'll be able to see is his nose. This is the furthest back that he can be, so if he looks like this, you're all good. The next 4 phases each correspond to one of those buttons. So depending on how close he is to ganking you, you will have to select the correct colored button and then flash your light on him to make him go back to phase 1. What do the buttons mixed with the flashlight have to do with sending him back? I really have no idea. And in all honesty, I think this is easily the weakest part of the entire game. But that's not where my frustration with Morris ends. No, not at all. Believe it or not, Turning around in your office can be a frustrating experience for literally no reason whatsoever. How, you might be asking? Well, I'd be more than happy to explain it to you. Let's say you're facing towards your doors. Bad bitch Bella is at your door, so for now, the door is closed. While this door is closed, apparently Beth, the name of our player, gets fucking glued to the goddamn ground and is unable to move an inch. Because if either one of your doors are closed, you will be unable to turn around to check on Morris. How does this make any sense at all? It literally fucking doesn't. And that's not all. It gets even more frustrating. Let's imagine you're facing Morris. You press a button and flash your light to send him back. Now it's time to turn around and start filling up our power in the camera again. But uh-oh, fucker! You forgot to press the button you already fucking pressed. Because if any of the buttons are currently toggled on, you can't turn around. Why? Who the fuck knows? I love this game a lot, but holy shit, this is one of the most retarded things I've ever seen. It doesn't make any sense at all. Well, whatever. It's frustrating. It's stupid, but I didn't let it ruin my experience with the rest of this amazing game. Speaking of, let's move on to the post-night 2 cutscene.
Greetings, employee, and welcome to part 3 of the Warren Tech Mascot Training Module. In this chapter, we'll be demonstrating how to safely wear and operate our patented Flex mascot suit. To begin the process, locate the 4 winding ports present on each of the character's limbs. Use your company-issued War Wrench to turn counterclockwise and disengage the mascot's enhanced performance mode. You should notice the eyes glow red from the activation of the light relay. This means that the mascot is ready to be worn. Simply be warned. Do not, by any circumstances, wear the mascot suit while it is still in its enhanced performance mode. Its specialized routines involve the full rotation and contortion of the extremities. Should you be caught in the suit during the performance of one of these routines, do not panic. If you can, tuck your legs and arms into the main torso and lower your head as far as possible.
Repeat the phrase. Abort showtime routine. Jonah protocol in effect. Abort showtime routine. Jonah protocol in effect.
So it seems we've found After Hours at Cody's spring lock equivalent. And in all honesty, I think it's way more brutal than the spring lock suit could ever be. Imagine being locked inside of that clown suit, only for the arms and legs to start twisting, breaking your bones, ripping your tendons, and contorting your bodies in ways it was never supposed to bend. This is easily one of the most terrifying ideas I've ever seen in a FNAF game before, and I'm all for it. Night 3 introduces one new threat, Jack the Jackal. He acts as this game's Chica, being a borderline exact copy of Bad Bitch Bella, except she's a 10 and he's like a 4 at best on a good day. As I'm sure you could have expected, Jack does the exact same thing as Bella, except he attacks camera 6 and your left door instead of your right. The same system and rules apply to him. He has 2 phases on camera 6. Once he's in his second phase, use the alarm on him and close the door until he leaves. Simple sugar. We've dealt with this before, however, it does add a decent deal of pressure in combination with what we already have. The cooldown for the alarm is relatively slow, and now having 3 consistent problems we need to use it on, it could easily start to get out of hand fast. Not to mention having another door character which could prevent us from turning around to check on Morris. This game can get stressful, but I honestly think that's one of the most enjoyable parts about it.
Clocking out? Okay. Have a good night then. Hey, Lonnie, mind if I talk to you about something?
Oh, of course. I was just about to finish up here. What's on your mind?
So, I've been going over the company's financial statements to help allocate the budget for next year. I noticed that some of our bank capital's been withdrawn and donated to a couple of undisclosed recipients. They've been blocked out. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? Okay, if you don't know anything about it, I'll just go ask Cynthia.
You won't get anything of value out of her. I made those withdrawals.
Alright, that's fine, but let me know next time. Given how much was spent, I don't have enough money left to fund my R&D for the new mascots next year. We need to focus on improving the restaurant before doing anything like this, okay? Anyways, who were the recipients anyway? You're joking, Lonnie. Tell me you're joking.
Quite the opposite, I'm afraid.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And after all that shit about dedicating yourself to the betterment of the company, to promise a business that would never do anything to harm its audience again, you pull this on me?
Look, calm down. I can explain.
No, you can't explain shit. You may put up a face to get them to tolerate you, but I'll be damned if you ever gave a shit about the kids. I'm the one working my ass off out there to cover for your mistakes.
I said calm down! Don't even start with me. Your pitiful self-righteousness is pathetic. Do you not remember the hole I dug you out of? You owe every part of the success to me. I made this company, and I made you. Don't try to push superiority onto me when you're the one who crawled to me, begging for my help all those years ago. What I do with my company's funds is none of your business. Do what is asked of you before I decide you're no longer needed.
Fine, you made your point.
Glad we came to an agreement. Be seeing you.
Whatever.
So, the brother Lonnie, who we heard in the Night 1 cutscene, has been spending company money on something shady. The exact contents have been redacted, but judging from Daryl's reaction, it's not good news. We also have a pretty big argument about money here. And if we're still rolling with my theory that Lonnie had something to do with Daryl's death, money is one of the most common reasons for murder. Again, not necessarily pointing any fingers. Okay, that's a lie. Yes, I am. There's no way in fuck Lonnie isn't the reason Daryl died, but I guess only time will tell. Night 4 introduces the main attraction himself, Cody. Really shitty name, by the way. The only Cody I like is this gay guy who wears a lot of blue and has some yellow ass teeth. Anyways, onto what Cody from the game does. Cody's main goal in this game is to absolutely rail your power supply. There are 2 cameras which have breaker boxes in them. They must be female because Cody really wants to break their boxes with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dig. When he's in either of these cameras, he'll have 2 phases. One where he's just kind of chilling there, and the other where he's having intercourse with said breaker box. When you see him doing his thing with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dick, use the alarm on his camera to scare him away. If you don't, obviously your power is going to disintegrate like the cells on my testicles when I accidentally place them on the stove. So, here we have yet another character that requires us to use the alarm system. Can you start to see how this game could become stressful? Especially considering that our alarm has a pretty long cooldown time in reference to the amount of characters that require its use. Yeah, it can become a bit much at times, but in all honesty, I never felt like this game was unfair. I never felt like there was even an inkling of RNG. This game is so fun. You guys really need to check it out, or check out my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black.
I'm done.
Just what is the meaning of this?
I can't keep covering your ass. I've just about had it. I've been trying to keep the magic alive for years at this point, but everything you've done has just thrown a wrench in every plan I've had. Every single time I was at the cusp of making something good for our audience, you've pulled the rug out from under my feet. Whatever, I know your heart was never really in it. Hell, we both know that neither of us would be here if it weren't for my mascots.
Do I need to remind you of the last time we've had this conversation?
No, because I've been thinking about what you said. Sure, you helped me out of a dark place, but I'm sure as goddamn hell you only ever did it to leech off my talent, knowing full well you couldn't produce a fraction of what we've accomplished here on your own.
Just get to the point. You're wasting my time.
I've had Cynthia pull our financial statements from the last 2 years. Don't even think about going after her when this is done, because she's made up her mind to leave long ago. I have the contacts of every news outlet in the state, ready to publish the uncensored documents at a moment's notice.
What? Are you dense? Don't you realize that this is gonna spell the end of you too?
I do. Besides, however this turns out sure as hell beats trying to steer a ship that's been sinking for years now. So I'm gonna give you 2 options. Walk away now and forsake your every stake in this company, or take the fall with me and lose everything anyway.
You belligerent, unthinking fool! You really haven't changed at all, have you? Still the over-emotional disaster of a child you've been since we were kids. God, it's no wonder Mom and Dad gave up on you so damn easily. You know what? Do your worst. You won't get anything out of me.
Then I guess you made your choice.
God damn it, Doria, get back here! This isn't something you just decide!
I've told you, my name is Daryl. Goodbye, Vonnie.
No, this can't be happening. Why are you making me do this?
Tisk, tisk, tisk. Well. Looky what we have here. Exactly as I suspected. Lonnie killed his brother. Sure, Daryl was gonna bring the entire company to its knees, but to be fair, it was entirely Lonnie's fault. I also want to use this cutscene to bring up a problem I have with some FNAF fan games. Voice acting can really make or break an impactful scene in a game. You really need to be able to get an actor or actress who can really bring that energy that the role needs to tell its story. Lonnie's voice acting is bad, and it really shows in this Night 4 cutscene. From the mumbling, making it hard to understand what he's saying if it wasn't for the subtitles, to the actor not really yelling during a scene where he needs to be yelling, it makes this scene, which is supposed to be impactful and shocking, just feel very awkward and uncomfortable. Not every game needs voice acting either. If you're a dev working on a FNAF game, or any game for that matter, and you just can't quite find an actor or actress that can fit your role with the vision you had in your head, I honestly think it's much better to just leave the voicing up to the player, rather than using an actor or actress that is going to make your scenes feel like they came out of Garden of Banban, a game series with notoriously horrendous voice acting. Anyways, moving on to Night 5. It introduces nothing new and just serves as a more difficult version of Night 4, so there's obviously not a whole lot to talk about here. However, what we can talk about is the post-Night 5 cutscene.
Hello? Oh, hello? Lonnie, what is this? Get me the hell out of here.
No. They can't know. God. Why are you making me do this?
Wait, what? Lonnie, what the hell are you thinking of doing?
Please. Don't make this harder than it has to be.
Lonnie, please, no. Listen, don't do this. I'm your brother!
You made me do this! They can't know. No one can know.
Please, Lonnie! I don't want to die! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!
now, no one will know. I'm sorry, Daryl.
So, Daryl was killed via the Flex clown suit, this game's Springlocks. It's not often you see someone other than the villain in a FNAF game fall to one of these traps. I was definitely shocked when I first saw this, and you can see my reaction to it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Truly one of the most brutal death scenes I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game, except this time around, it didn't happen to someone we wanted it to happen to. Night 6 introduces this game's final 2 threats, and one of them is obviously the clown, Klaus, acting as this game's boss fight night. Klaus acts as every character we've seen so far, and that includes the anomaly. Klaus can attack both of your doors, can try to break your breaker boxes with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dick, and is the anomaly you have to find. Namely, if his eyes are glowing, that's how you know to play the alarm. Do this 10 times and the night is over. But what about Morris? It's stated in the phone call that Klaus destroyed all of the animatronics. What about a Morris mechanic? Well, Morris is replaced by this night's second new threat, Shadow Cody, who is a much faster version of Morris. If you thought you had to check on Morris a lot, you have to check on Shadow Cody a fuck ton more. This night is intense. Klaus is fast. He will be moving around your cameras, attacking you very quickly. And in addition to the incredibly aggressive Shadow Cody, it really serves to test the limits of your skills and your timings, easily being one of my favorite nights in this entire game, and being one of, if not my favorite boss fight night in any FNAF game I've ever played.
We're going to do wonderful things.
Before Beth can leave the building, she's caught by Klaus, and is never seen by another human being ever again. A local who goes by the name Bethany Hasters has been reported missing as of Sunday 5 a.m. Last seen at Cody & Co.'s Game & Grub, authorities have been searching the vicinity and its surrounding forest areas to deduct what could have occurred. There is no current suspicion of foul play, but a manhunt will be conducted within the week. Authorities state to have found her place of work in disarray, sparking suspicions of the suspect being inebriated or the like. In addition to this, the robot entertainers of the restaurant were found completely disassembled and damaged beyond repair. The company has yet to release a statement, but the resigning CEO has spoken with authorities and announces that the robots will be sent for repair at one of the company's sister facilities. This story is depraved, and trust me, there's a lot that goes into it. Long before the game takes place, Cody & Co.'s Game & Grub was meant to be a second chance, a reopening of a restaurant that had already failed once before, revived under the guidance of Warren Technology. On the surface, it was nothing special. A modest arcade-style diner built around animatronic mascots, struggling to stay relevant in a world that had already moved on. But beneath that fragile revival was something unstable, something unfinished, quietly embedded into the building's systems. That presence became known as the anomaly. Employees noticed it first. Small things at the beginning, strange glitches in the animatronics' behaviors, systems responding without being touched, errors appearing where none should exist. Management acknowledged it, but only as a technical problem, something to be observed, something to be measured, not something to be feared. By the time Bethany Hasters was hired as the night guard, the anomaly was already spreading. Bethany's job was simple on paper: work the overnight shift, monitor the building, and collect data on the anomaly's activity. Her first night begins on November 9th, 1997, and at first, the restaurant almost feels dormant, quiet, empty. But that stillness doesn't last long, because each night, the anomaly grows more aggressive, and it chooses its host one by one. The first animatronic to fall under its influence is Bella the Beaver. Once a friendly mascot, Bella becomes erratic, hostile, and unpredictable, her movements no longer matching her original programming. The following night, Morris the Mouse is corrupted as well, then Jack the Jackal. Each evening, another animatronic loses control, as if something is slowly rewriting them from the inside. All the while, the anomaly watches Bethany. By Thursday night, even Cody, the face of the restaurant itself, is no longer safe. His corruption marks a turning point. The anomaly has nearly overtaken the entire system. Whatever restraint once existed is gone, and by Friday, the restaurant's original code is on the brink of a total collapse. Behind all of this is Warren Technology, and more specifically, the company's founders, Daryl and Lonnie Warren. Years earlier, Daryl had been responsible for developing advanced animatronic technology, including a dangerous experimental suit known as the Flex suit. At some point, Daryl was betrayed and trapped inside that suit. Whether intentional or negligent, the result was the same. Daryl never escaped, and what remained of him became something else entirely. The anomaly. On Friday night, Lonnie Warren lies about a meeting, betrays another employee, and secretly releases what remains of Daryl from backstage confinement. By Saturday, the animatronics have been dismantled, but the threat hasn't ended. The anomaly has a body now, a form known as Klaus, and it is no longer bound to systems or code. It hunts Bethany directly. Saturday night becomes less about surviving malfunctioning machines and more about avoiding a conscious entity moving freely through the building. And if that wasn't enough, another presence emerges, Shadow Cody, a dark manifestation tied to the restaurant's collapse, appearing as an additional threat. In the end, Bethany doesn't escape. She's caught by Klaus and taken away, her fate left deliberately unclear. In the final cutscene, Daryl, still trapped within Klaus, offers her a gift, hinting that her story isn't over, and that whatever comes next will involve choice, consequence, and continuation. And that's where After Hours at Cody's leaves us. A restaurant reopened too late, a company that tried to bury its mistakes, and a presence that was never just a glitch, but the remains of someone who was never allowed to leave. But that's not where After Hours at Cody's comes to a close. Not quite yet. We still have something very interesting to talk about. If you go to the custom night menu after completing the final night, you will see a small chest icon in the bottom corner. Clicking on it will bring you to a FNAF 4 styled lock box with 2 padlocks. And rest assured, we can get the keys. The first key is locked behind 520 mode. If there's anything you guys know about me, it's that I'm absolutely terrible at Five Nights at Freddy's games. But you want to hear something crazy? I was actually able to beat this max mode, and I even did it on my first try. I would usually never even give a max mode a try, and at the time of playing it, I didn't know that beating it would give me a key. Does that let me unlock one of the boxes? Oh my god, it did! So the fact that I played it and beat it goes to show just how much I enjoyed this game, and I really think you guys will too. But what about the second key? Well, you get it by completing this game's second max mode, 220 mode with Klaus and Shadow Cody, which yes, I also beat, and yes, I also beat on my first try. I don't think this game is necessarily very difficult by any means, but I am still very proud of myself for actually doing it. And watching me play it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, makes me look like I'm a lot better at these types of games than I really am. After completing both max modes, we can take the keys and unlock the box to find a very menacing looking character whose eyes turn on, a teaser for what will undoubtedly be a second game, and I believe that this character we see here is Bethany. But only time will tell. One last thing I want to talk about is something you can find in the extras menu. If you scroll through the characters until you find Klaus and hover over his face, you will see what I believe to be the rotting, decompiling corpse of Daryl. Truly one of the most disturbing images I've ever seen in a FNAF game. And with that, that's all After Hours at Cody's has to offer. Overall, I think this game is easily one of the most unique, interesting, and fun FNAF games I've ever played, right up there with how much fun I had playing Juniors. After Hours at Cody's really is a super fun experience with a gruesome, easy to follow story, and I highly recommend you give it a try. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm just glazing this game because I was able to beat it? Let me know in the comments below. In my Remnants of Tubbyland video, I asked you guys what your favorite horror game from 2025 was, and my favorite answer was this one by Skeletons. They said, "No, I'm Not Human," and I totally agree. I absolutely loved that game, and you can see my full playthrough of it over on my third channel, Dxtr Gray, which a lot of people don't even know exists. Popular pre-existing IPs in FNAF games. I'm sure quite a few examples already come to your mind when I say that. Five Nights at Wario's, Five Nights at Sonic's, Five Nights at the Krusty Krab, among many others, are very popular examples of this. However, in my journey of playing FNAF games to find games worthy enough to talk about, there's one very popular IP I see show up very frequently. An IP that has so many games made by multiple different talented individuals, and the person who made the game we'll be talking about today needs no introduction. Today, we're going to be talking about a FNAF game about Teletubbies. You might think that's weird since I just talked about the Tubbyland Archives Act 1 a few weeks ago, but this is a perfect example of just how many FNAF fan games have been built around this IP. Today, we'll be covering the Remnants of Tubbyland, a FNAF fan game made by Avocado Dreams, the same person responsible for one of the most terrifying FNAF games ever designed, Graveyard Shift at Freddy's. Rest assured, this game is terrifying as well, and not only that, it's also really hard. So let's waste no more time and jump right into the Remnants of Tubbyland. To begin, we have to talk about the setting in which this game takes place. Typically in FNAF games, we see the setting as a restaurant, with animatronics that were on stage and would sing in the party room while the children ate their food. But not this time around. The Remnants of Tubbyland takes place in a daycare that's been seemingly left to rot. We take the job as a night guard, and before we know it, we're thrown into a twisted death trap. Loading into the office for the first time, there's already a lot to talk about.
Please don't be as hard as the fucking other. What the fuck am I looking at?
Let's start by mentioning how fucking creepy this game looks. Obviously, we've got this little fella sitting in front of us, and of course, he will become more important later on. But seriously, just look at the scenery in this game. I honestly think it's creepier than Graveyard Shift. Everything just looks so grainy, uncanny, and gross. It seems like a really nasty place to have to spend your time, and yet here we are spending our time here. We get our night one phone call, and it's just about as basic as you could imagine. The typical night one phone call stuff. The phone guy introduces where we are, why we're watching over the place, and pretends like there's nothing to be worried about, because the murder robots would never murder us.
So if they enter your room, they could knock stuff over and probably damage themselves more than they already have.
Just say they can blow my shit out. The reason we're given as to why we're here is pretty unclear. However, we're told that our main objective is just to watch the robots since they are capable of moving around. At least they can acknowledge that this is something that is happening. Of course, he says they won't hurt us, but also decides it's a great idea to explain to us how to defend ourselves on the off chance they come into our office. He explains their facial recognition and says that if they move around too much, they may damage themselves. So I guess we've got some suicidal robots around here. Fantastic. Anyways, how many threats are introduced on night one? 2. 2 threats are introduced on night 1. So let's go over them. Let's start with this game's main attraction, Dipsy.
So I don't see nobody yet. Bro, let me tell you, Avocado Dreams, she knows how to set an atmosphere. What the fuck is that?
Dude, Dipsy Dick will begin on camera 2. If we take a look at the map, we can see the path that the characters will have to take to reach us. It's a little bit confusing, so really take a look at it. As you can see, camera 2 is not actually connected to our office at all. This entire building is just one big spiral to reach our office. So Dipsy Dick will have to start from camera 2, then go to 3, 4, 5, and to finally end up in camera 7 before he can attack us. Make sense? Good. Dipsy makes no noise when moving around, so you'll have to track him yourself on the cameras. Once he reaches camera 7, he actually has 2 phases. One far away from the camera, and another where he's a lot closer to the camera. And even despite the fact that this is a robot, somehow his face is able to distort to an unrealistic length. Don't question it. Ooh, spooky. That's all that matters.
Like an entire half of the building has no cameras in it.
That's so ugly. That's so ugly. Once Dipsy makes it to the second phase on camera 7, his next movement opportunity will have him disappear. When he does, that's how you know he's about to attack you. Since Dipsy will never move backwards, it's always easy to keep track of him. Once he does disappear, you'll have to put on the sun mask located on your desk. It works exactly the same as the mask from FNAF 2, and of course, Avocado Dreams did not disappoint with the animations. Take a look. Oh my god, dude, that'd be so sick! Damn, bro. That is so cool. That's so cool, bro.
I can't lie to you, but now this shit cool as fuck. This shit cool as fuck.
Just creepy as fuck, isn't it? God, I love it. It's so cool. Anyways, something else about your mask that you've probably noticed is this asthma meter. This is basically just the scrapped toxic meter from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The longer your mask is on, the higher your asthma meter will increase. And if it increases all the way, the mask will forcefully be taken off, and you'll have to wait for a cooldown before you can put it on again. And that's obviously not a good thing, especially not on later nights. Now, for the second threat this night introduces, Trumpet. Trumpet acts as more of a nuisance character rather than an actual threat in this game. However, don't let that make you think you can ignore him, because you most certainly cannot. Occasionally, you'll be able to see Trump Dick rising up from behind your desk. It does make a noise, but on later nights, you may find it hard to hear it while you're on the cameras, so you should get into the habit of checking often. When Trumpet starts to rise, you will have to quickly find his error message that randomly spawns on one of your cameras. My least favorite FNAF mechanic hidden into a character that technically doesn't enter the camera themselves. I'm onto you, game. Watch your back. When you find the error, simply press the power button and Trumpet will fall back behind your desk. But what happens if you just let Trumpet fully appear and start blasting your eardrums with the loudest sound you've ever heard in your entire life? Well, the sound that emits from it will slowly cause the AI value of every other character to slowly increase until Trumpet is turned off. And even after you turn Trumpet off, you want to hear something crazy? The AI values will never go back down throughout the night. So let me tell you, you do not want to miss a Trumpet attack. You will very quickly regret it. Old Trumpet Dick. Night 2 introduces probably the most revolting, nasty, fuck-ass character I've ever seen in my life on this earth. Luckily, it's not nearly as bad as one of Avocado Dream's other demon spawns, Sheriff Slither Dick, but trust me, this character... Luckily, it's not nearly as bad as one of Avocado Dream's other demon spawns, Sheriff Slither Dick, but trust me, this character will still make you want to cover your willy with honey and jump wiener first into a fire ant hill. That character, of course, is Poe. Poe is a very simple character to understand. However, that's probably the scariest part about her. Poe starts on camera 1. She will then move to camera 3. From 3, she will either move to camera 2 or camera 4. You want her to move to camera 4. Trust me, it's better for your mental health overall. She will then move between cameras 6, 4, 5, and 3 for the rest of the night. She will never naturally wander to your office, but don't let that make you think you're safe. You're not safe. You're never safe. This is easily the worst character in the entire game. While Poop is on the cameras, if you're looking at the camera she's on, you'll be able to hear the song she emits as she wanders around. You'll have to track her around the cameras to constantly make sure the song is playing. If the song ever stops, you're in trouble. On night 2, a large red button will appear on your desk. If the music stops, all you have to do is push this button and her music will reset. But you have to be really fast. If her music is off, that's when she'll make her way to your office. If you at any point see her in camera 7, you need to hit the button immediately. Faster than you've ever hit anything else before in your entire life. Faster than a 1950s husband hits his wife after coming home and not having a martini in his hand the moment he walks through the door. If you don't, obviously... if you don't... if you don't, obviously she's... If you don't, obviously she's gonna bounce into your office and start bouncing on it crazy style. Riding it like a bike with no seat type shit. Oh, but he's fast. It just muted Poe get really fast. Oh shit. Oh my god, my ass just fell off. fuck. And before you say anything, look at this ugly fuck. You don't want that. The problem that Poe brings into this game is obviously requiring your constant attention. And Dipsy has already been shown to require a lot of your attention as well. And trust me, the synergy that Poe has with every other character that will be introduced into this game is prominent and brutal the entire way through. So let's continue talking about them, shall we? Night 3 brings on this fuckhead in your office, Tinky Winky.
So I really like that. I don't like this fucker staring at me right now. I can't lie. That I'm not a huge fan of, the way he's looking at me. He's like licking his lips and shit. And it's like, let's not. Hey. Ooh. Ooh. Tinky Dick works in the exact same way as Peggy from Showman's The Awakening, which I've covered on this channel before, and you should go watch that video after you finish this one. Tinky Dick is very much a weeping angel character. If you're looking at him, he won't move. But if you have your camera up, he will slowly begin to creep towards you throughout 3 different phases. Each phase is pretty obvious, so don't worry about not noticing it. After the final phase, he will attempt to jump you like you're in the streets of Compton. All you have to do is put your mask on and he'll go back to where he was. However, unlike Dipsy, Tinky requires you to be a lot faster with your mask, and you can't put on your mask before an attack to bait the attack out. Tinky has to attack before putting the mask on will push him backwards. Thankfully, if you're on your cameras, he will force them down when he attacks. So it isn't just a guessing game, but you have to be really, really fast, especially on later nights. You'll have close to only 1 second to put it on once he attacks, lest your butt cheeks get spread and he lathers peanut butter and jelly on that shit like a midnight snack. Oh, okay. It's blatantly obvious. Huh, bitch? Was I just not fast enough? Do you have to be like really, really quick with it? Obviously, Tinky brings up an enormous problem. With 2 characters requiring you to constantly watch them on the cameras, adding a character that penalizes you for using the cameras is obviously going to cause quite a bit of problems. This is actually the problem that led to me having to change the way I play the game and switch up my strategy to solely focusing on Poe and occasionally checking on camera 7 to see if Dipsy has arrived yet. It's also this character that made me decide to start forcing attacks from him. For example, let's say Dipsy just attacked me. I know it's going to be a while before Dipsy can come to attack me again. So in order to not have the asthma meter blow up my guts, I would sit and stare at the cameras until Tinky attacked me, resetting his timer before the next Dipsy attack. It's a very AIDS strategy that makes me die a little bit on the inside, but it does get the job done well enough. Well, now it's time to move on to night 4 and introduce a character so sepsis-ridden you'd think you've injected yourself with every disease on Earth. Lala. Lala starts in camera 1 like poop. She has a set path around the map to get to your office, very similar to Dipsy. On this night, you'll notice that each camera Lala will travel through will now be equipped with a camera button, allowing you to take a picture of each camera and obviously emitting a flash of light at the same time. I'm sure you can tell exactly where this is going. Lala will move throughout the cameras during this night. You will have to flash her on whatever camera she's on to push her back. Then go to the camera you pushed her to and flash her again. Keep doing this until you push her back into camera 1. When she goes back into camera 1, she will shut down and won't attack again for a while. So doing this is very important. And if you're lucky, you can catch her really quickly and only have to push her back once. The problem with her? She is very, very fast. She will move through her cameras faster than the fat bitch in line at the Golden Corral who's hopping up and down because the buffet just got refilled. Sit down, Shamu.
There are so many things that I don't understand. I don't know what's going on right now. Oh. You're telling me she got all the way through the cameras that fast? You're telling me she got through every camera that fast? No. No. This is bullshit. Let me tell you what this is. This is bullshit, bro. Like, what the fuck is that? What is that? How the fuck am I supposed to keep track of those 3 fuckers at the same time while also not looking at the cameras for this fucker? I'll tell you how, you don't. That's bullshit. What the fuck? We now have an interesting group of mechanics to talk about. Thankfully, even though this game does rely a lot on RNG,
There was a very clear attempt put in place by Avocado Dreams to mitigate how much RNG is actually involved. The main example I can point to is Tinky Winky. Tinky Winky will never attack you if Lala has left camera 1. This prevents an insta-loss that would otherwise be present. Obviously, if Tinky Dick is about to attack and you get an attack from Lala, if you were to deal with Lala, then Tinky would attack you, and while being attacked, Lala would easily make it to your office and kill you. So thank God Tinky isn't able to attack you while Lala is. However, his aggression meter will still increase, meaning that immediately after you deal with Lala, it's very likely you will get an insta attack from Tinky. So you'll need to be fast, but at least there isn't any luck involved. Night 5 introduces nothing new, and is just a much harder version of Night 4. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. I was not able to beat Night 5. I'm sure that if I threw in hours upon hours of attempts, I would have beaten it eventually, but I just don't have the type of patience like other people do. I applaud you if you beat it, but I did not. But now we get to talk about what everyone who's familiar with this game has been waiting for: Custom Night, and the secret night that comes along with it. If you go into Custom Night, you may notice that there is an extra character slot just labeled NA. You'll also notice that you're unable to set its AI value. If you input the code 34193 into the other characters and press start, you will be entered into the secret boss night this game has to offer: Dream Night. Dream Night introduces 2 new threats, while disabling all other threats we've seen so far. These 2 new characters are Nunu and Evocation. Let's start with Evocation, since he was easily the character that confused me the most. Evocation will begin on camera 2, slowly emerging from a screen. After he leaves that camera, he will randomly teleport to any other camera except camera 1. You'll have to quickly find him and keep your eyes on him. From there, he can attack you in one of 2 ways. The first way will have him get super close to the camera and laugh like a child, which just fills me with rage because I hate children. When he does, all you have to do is flash whichever camera he went to. His other attack has him disappear from the camera entirely. If he does, he will immediately teleport inside of your office and float above you like he's possessed by the devil. If this is the attack he chooses, all you have to do is put your mask on and he will leave instantly. You do have to be pretty fast with both attacks, so make sure you have your reflex game on point. Another thing to point out about the way Evocation attacks is that he will never attack the same way twice. So, his first attack will be random, but from there it will be incredibly easy to predict how he will attack, since he'll just be alternating between the 2, which honestly serves to make this boss fight easier. Anyways, on to the only other threat present in Dream Night: Nunu, the vacuum, or if you have bad teeth and your country's food tastes like shit, a Hoover. Nunu is very simple, really just being a distraction character. He will randomly wander around cameras 4, 5, and 6. Occasionally, you may hear a loud metal bang. That means Nunu is just being a pesky little guy. Find which camera he's on, which should be pretty easy since his eyes will be flashing and he'll be emitting a nasty noise. Simply flash the camera he's on and bada bing bada boom, he's dealt with. Upon beating Dream Night, you will unlock that special character in the Custom Night screen. Spoiler alert, it's fucking Evocation. You might be wondering where Nunu is. Well, Nunu is actually a part of Evocation. So if you activate Evocation, Nunu will be activated alongside him as well, which I honestly think is really cool. As far as the story of this game goes, Avocado Dreams kept it pretty simple. After completing Night 5, we get this news article along with our paycheck. Infamous Tubbyland Daycare finally sees its end after a 15-year-long battle to sell the property. Following a tragic accident back in 2000, the childcare facility promptly closed its doors and left the building dormant, alone, and forgotten. Years having flown by, locals urged city officials to accelerate the auction process due to rumors that have been circulating the desolate daycare. The property is planned to be utilized for a brand new facility using the same philosophies and presentation ideas, but aiming for a new and safer direction. So it's very clear that something terrible happened in 2000. So what could that possibly be referring to? According to the wiki, back in 2000, Nunu fucking exploded inside of the daycare, starting a massive fire. Our player, Parker Anderson, was in the building at the time with his son, Lucas. Lucas most likely being the identity of Evocation, which would also make sense as to why Nunu is activated alongside of him, and why a child will laugh when he gets close to the camera. When the fire erupted, Parker left the building and saved himself, leaving his son behind to be burned alive. Years later, as the building is going to be demolished after being sold, Parker takes up the night shift job. He's unable to move on. Filled with guilt, he's not capable of forgetting what he did. Of course, Lucas's soul lingers inside the daycare, still angry, unforgiving of what his father did to him. So in Dream Night, he lashes out to attack. There's honestly not a whole lot of info on this game's lore. That is quite literally all I was able to gather from it. If there's anything I'm missing or something new comes up after this video goes live, please let me know in the comments below, as I definitely feel like there's a bit more to this. But as far as I'm aware, that's all the Remnants of Tubbyland has to offer. Overall, I think this game is incredibly scary. It's very good at keeping you on your toes the entire time, and while I may feel like the later nights are not balanced very well, and that there is still a large deal of RNG to have to deal with, I can't go without appreciating Avocado Dream's attempts at mitigating it as much as possible. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is just a bad attempt at recreating the amazing experience that was Graveyard Shift at Freddy's? Let me know in the comments below. In my Tealerland video, I asked you guys what your favorite non-traditional FNAF game was, and my favorite answer was this one by GeoFreaks. They said Tyke & Sons Lumber Co., and I think that that's one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had since starting my channel, and you can see my full playthrough of it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black.
What is the most disturbing thing you've ever seen while playing a FNAF game? That's a serious question. I really want you to think about it. I'm sure a lot of people are already thinking of the third tape from the original Dormitibus, but that's not quite what I mean. I mean, what's the most disturbing thing you've seen? Literally seen with your own two eyes, or one if you're half blind. Let me cut to the chase. The game we'll be talking about today is the Fazbear Tomb, made by Maroon Fox, who, fun fact, I've actually known for many years, and he reached out to me to ask me to voice some of the characters in this game. Rest assured, that's not why I'm talking about it. The Fazbear Tomb has some of the most shocking imagery I've ever seen in any FNAF game ever. So let's waste no time and jump right into it. With nowhere better to start than night one is where we will start, and we actually get to walk into the building instead of just being dropped right into our office, which I always think is pretty cool. Starting outside, we enter the building and walk into the dining area where we can see Bonnie and Freddy. Chica is also on stage, you can tell because you can see her feet, but unfortunately the rest of her body is blocked by Freddy's enormous belly, which is just not ideal. Moving to our office, we sit down and I notice something immediately which I think is really cool. That being, instead of turning like in most FNAF games, you can actually turn 360 degrees inside of your office. It's such a small touch, but I really like it. Moving on to the tools at our disposal. There really isn't much to be said here. We have cameras and 3 doors to our office. 2 of the doors can be held shut, but the third door cannot, instead allowing us to play dead outside of it. Why can't we play dead next to all of the doors? That I don't really have the answer to. Oh yeah, we can also shine our light in all of the doorways, so that's nice too. We get a phone call from the phone guy, pretty typical stuff. He gives us the normal spiel of how to deal with the characters, which might make you think they'll all be activated on this night, but you'd be wrong. For some reason, we're told how to deal with every character on night 1, even though only 1 threat is introduced on this night. Not really sure why, but whatever. Oh yeah, and one more super cool thing about this game, the phone guy is played by me, so that was super fun.
To make sure he doesn't get you, you must... Well, that is all the training for today. Good luck on your shift and have a killer time at Freddy's.
There's 3 doors. What do you mean? What do I have to do? Also, why am I'm talking to myself? It feels weird. Moving on to the 1 threat this night introduces, that being Bonnie, who is as basic can get. Bonnie's goal is to attack the 1 door in your office with no actual door on it. He'll wander around the cameras before getting there. You can flash your light to double check that he is indeed there, and once you know he is, just play dead. Phone guy says to do so for 10 seconds. Kind of odd how he just knows how long you're supposed to do that for, but I'm gonna look past it. Something I'm not a super huge fan of in this game is just how long the nights are, especially night 1.
you'll notice that each minute in this game is about a second and a half in real life. And with a night like night 1 where only Bonnie is active, and at the same time during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I actually never even had Bonnie come to my door and I was playing Raid Shadow Legends the whole time. It just leads to this night feeling like a slog. But after making it to 6 AM, we complete the night and we can talk about the post-night 1 minigame, which may just be one of the most shocking things I've ever seen in my life. During this minigame, we have to take apart Bonnie because there's been complaints of a bad odor coming from him. We start by opening his head, removing his arms, and cracking open his torso. Removing the plate, we see this. That's right. We actually get to see the corpse of one of the missing children stuffed inside of Bonnie. Truly one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen in a FNAF game before. I don't think any other game that I know of has ever actually directly shown you the bodies of the children. So needless to say, seeing this was crazy. After that shocking reveal, we get a very odd cutscene. A large amount of words are said, but I can't really make out most of it. I'll play it here with subtitles of what I could make out, but I'll need your guys' help in the comments to decipher everything.
But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker, and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well?
Night 2, here we are. Let's just say action from these robots picks up quite a bit on this night. Night 2 only introduces one new threat, that being Chica, as I'm sure you could have guessed. And I'm gonna be honest, Chica brings up a really big glaring flaw that this game has. That being that the gameplay is boring as fuck. But let's explain what Chica does first. Chica will move around the cameras until making her way to your second door. Once she approaches, you can flash your light to check she's there, and if she is, hold the door closed until you hear her go away. This is also the first night I actually had Bonnie attack me, and something I noticed about these two is just how long it takes for both of them to leave your door. It's like a solid 10 seconds, at least. Which, yes, I know the phone guy said, but I didn't think he literally meant it. But can you notice the issue this game already has? Both Bonnie and Chica do the exact same thing. And while sure, you could argue that Bonnie and Chica do the same thing in a lot of games, but when the cast of characters is so small, I think that should make you more inclined to make everyone do something unique. This franchise has been around for over a decade. I would like to see the community do something different, and I feel like this game tries to hide the fact that everything is the same. Sure, you have 3 doors, but 2 of them are just a close them when someone is there mechanic, and the other is a play dead mechanic, which by the way is literally exactly the same as holding the door closed, except there's no animation, the screen just turns black. And this is what I mean. It feels like the game is trying to make you think that Bonnie has a different mechanic from Chica because it calls it something different. But in reality, you're just holding control for both of them, so it feels a bit disingenuous. But on the other hand, the character AI has definitely ramped up on this night. During night 1, I was never attacked by Bonnie the entire time. This time around, I was attacked by him a good handful of times, and Chica tried to rail me a couple of times too. So at least during this night, I couldn't play another game at the exact same time like I could on night 1, which is a good sign of progress. Oh yeah, I should probably mention the phone call on this night too, since it is pretty interesting. It seems like a previous night guard was able to intercept the phone's connection. Don't ask how, just accept it. He talks about how the robots are out to kill. We already knew that. and he explains Foxy and Freddy's mechanics, which is good since the phone guy on night 1 cut out before he could finish talking about Freddy and how he worked. I'm obviously not going to tell you how to deal with Freddy and Foxy right now since they aren't even active at this point, so let's just move on to the post-night 2 minigame. Something I want to quickly preface is that technically these are not post-night minigames, they're technically pre-night minigames, but I'm so used to talking about the minigames after talking about the night. So just know that this minigame I'm about to talk about isn't a post-night 2 minigame, but is really a pre-night 3 minigame. Who really cares though? It's all in the same order. In this game, we play as a very slow, fat child, not based, the most horrendous, creepy looking 8-bit spring Bonnie I've ever seen in my life appears to tell us he has a gift for us. A very special one. We follow him through 2 rooms and see a gift box on the ground, but Spring Bonnie is nowhere in sight. Upon approaching the box, Spring Bonnie sprints at Mach 46 in our direction and presumably murks us, ending the minigame. So, not nearly as interesting as last night's minigame, but maybe this showed what happened just before what we saw in that last minigame. Or who knows, maybe this is one of the other dead children altogether. Right now it's hard to say, but let's continue on to night 3. On night 3, I was expecting one new character to be introduced, since it seems we're only going to be getting the 4 characters from the first FNAF game. Introducing one every night makes sense to me. But no, we have 2 threats to talk about on this night. So let's start with the least interesting one, Freddy. Freddy works, quite literally, in the exact same way as Bonnie and Chica, with the exact same attack pattern and the exact same way of dealing with him. He will attack your 3rd door, except he doesn't like to be flashed by your light. So if you ever do, he'll kill you instantly, even if you close the door directly afterwards, which doesn't make sense. So this brings up a question of how you're supposed to know when Freddy is there. Well, this game tells you that you'll be able to hear Freddy breathing when he's outside of your door. However, I was unable to hear the breathing, ever. Or, if I was able to hear the breathing, I was unable to tell it was breathing, since there are so many other fucking random noises that happen constantly throughout this game. You wanna know why I never heard the breathing sound effect? I checked the code of this game myself, and yeah, it's literally never programmed to play the breathing sound. Here is the code for the breathing sound. You see that start sound, pick random 1 to 4? There are 4 breathing sounds, and this plays one of those at random. You'll notice that these 2 blocks aren't attached to anything, and I never moved them. By the way, there is nothing that triggers these 2 blocks. This is all of the code for Freddy reaching your door. You'll notice a few weird things about it. That it starts by running a broadcast for Bonnie arriving. Spoiler alert, I have no idea why it's called Bonnie Arrive. The only thing this broadcast does is run a function in another sprite that plays footstep sounds. The other weird thing you'll notice about this code is that, yes, it actually does start sound, but not sounds 1 to 4. Instead, sounds 5 to 10. Well, what are sounds 5 to 10? You might ask. Well, they're footstep sounds. All of them. Sounds 5 through 10 are all footstep sounds. But why the fuck would you even need to play footstep sounds if right before that block you have the Bonnie Arrive broadcast that plays fucking footstep sounds? And why are there breathing sounds in this game that are never used? Pretty much making it impossible to know when Freddy is ever at your door. I have no idea. And yes, by the way, I checked everything in the AI management code, and nowhere besides those 2 blocks that are detached and never called that I showed earlier does the code ever call for sounds 1 through 4 to ever be played. I have no idea what's going on. But worry not, I found a strategy for dealing with Freddy. We know because of the Bonnie Arrive script that whenever any character shows up at the door, we'll hear footsteps. Well, whenever I heard footsteps, I'd check Bonnie's door and Chica's door since I could safely flash my light on them. If I didn't see either of those 2, then I'd know it has to be Freddy who's at my door, and, fun fact, Freddy doesn't appear to make footstep sound cues when he leaves either, so that's just great. Anyways, let's talk about the other threat this night introduces, Foxy. Foxy is pretty simple, but he is different from the other 3, thankfully. Foxy is in Pirate's Cove. Occasionally, throughout the night, he'll start humming like he tends to do. When he does, all you have to do is go to his camera and flash him with your camera light a few times and he'll close the curtain. So he doesn't even really do what normal Foxy does. Not that that's an issue, just thought I'd point it out. So, here's what the core gameplay loop boils down to right now. Start the night, literally sit there and do nothing until you hear Foxy humming or footstep sounds. Deal with Foxy if you hear him, and if you hear footstep sounds, check Bonnie, then Chica. Deal with either of them if you see them, and if you don't see them, close Freddy's door until you hear the next sound cue. Repeat for 8 fucking minutes, since each minute in this game is a second and a half, and you'll beat the night. Meaning we can move on to the post-night 3 minigame, technically pre-night 4 minigame. This is just a cutscene, but a creepy one at that. The marionette box opens, and the marionette crawls out with the most disgusting sound I've ever heard. She offers us a gift box and says that if we take it, we'll be gifted new life, and that he'll never be able to hurt us again. This tells me that we're the soul of a child in this cutscene, and of course, the marionette is reanimating us. We accept the gift, and the marionette crawls back into its sticky sounding box, and we move on to Night 4. Night 4 adds nothing new to the gameplay loop. However, it is where I noticed a plethora of bugs in this game so horrific it's hard to describe. And pretty much every single bug stems from Freddy and the fact he will literally just ignore your door. He will also sometimes not play his footstep sound cue when he gets to the door. Oh yeah, and this part isn't a bug, but multiple characters can attack at the same time, guaranteeing that you lose the night because of RNG. That sounded rather loud. Good thing I went and checked. I said, good thing I went and checked. Fuck! Okay, well, you can't put Bonnie and Freddy there at the same time, dude. That's literally impossible. Impossible to deal with. Really, bro? Bonnie, walk off. What the fuck, dude? This game fucking reeks. Holy shit. It's a broken fucking mess. So yeah, doesn't that just look like a ton of fun? Because it wasn't. Anyways, since there isn't actually anything new to talk about, we can move on to Night 5, which actually does introduce something pretty sick. But of course, before we talk about it, we need to talk about the pre-Night 5 minigame. It's a pretty shitty, boring minigame. It's literally just the opening to FNAF 2. We're in the POV of Freddy, and we can look back and forth at Bonnie and Chica. Nothing super crazy or groundbreaking happens. We don't even see the marionette like we do in FNAF 2. Alright, who cares? Now we can move on to Night 5. Well, let's just say that Night 5 is something different, acting as this game's boss fight night. Every character we've seen up until this point has been disabled, and we hear the doors to the entrance of the building open, only to see none other than William Afton inside of the Spring Bonnie suit enter the building. That's right, the boss fight is with Afton. Why is he here? I have no idea. Is it ever explained to us why he wants to come kill us? Just a security guard that he himself likely hired? Not at all. But are we gonna complete it nonetheless? Yes. Honestly, calling this night a boss fight is pretty generous, as Afton does not do anything interesting or different from the rest of the characters. He can attack 2 of your 3 doors, and I'll talk about why in a bit. He can attack the 2 doors that, well, actually have doors. Obviously, when he's there, just close the door and he'll leave. However, Afton is faster than every other character we've seen so far, so tracking him on the cameras to tell which door it is he actually went to is really important, since you won't have time to check both doors without him killing you. Once again, like Freddy, even if the fucking door is closed. Hello? Ah, bitch! The door's closed, dude. The bugs in this game, they're unbearable. They're unbearable. Unbearable, dude. The door was closed. Now, you may be wondering, why doesn't Afton attack the door that Bonnie attacks? The one with no door? Well, that would be because it'd be impossible to defend yourself. You might think that that would make it the perfect door for him to attack, but from a gameplay standpoint, you really can't have him attack that door, now can you? Because he's not going to believe that you're already dead, since he's a human and not a stupid fucking robot. So this once again brings up my point, why even make the first door's mechanic playing dead? Why not just make it another door? It would literally function the exact same way, plus it would give Afton another means of attack and make his boss fight actually make a little bit more sense and slightly more difficult. But let's even look past all of that. What happens once you beat the night? Well, get this. Afton enters the fucking office anyways. So like, what is the point of whatever we just did? Clearly he has the power to be able to get into your office regardless. This kind of feels more like what we did throughout the night didn't really matter, which, by the way, the nights in this game are way too fucking long for how boring the mechanics are. A game like Next Week at Freddy's can have really long nights because there's a lot of variables that can change throughout the night to make it interesting for a long time. But when every single character in the game is dealt with in the exact same way, 8-minute nights are just completely unnecessary and make the game feel like a drag. But like I said, after you complete the night, Afton gets into the office and we get the following cutscene.
I found you at last. Did you really think you could hide? Did you really believe that you could cower away from me? I own you. I own this place. This is my kingdom, and I shall take you to my hell.
So there you have it. The marionette appears from the fucking ceiling. I guess she was just hiding up there the whole night. And she sets off the spring locks in Afton's suit. Which, by the way, once again, I have no idea why he's even wearing the spring lock suit. The robots are not even activated on this night, so it's not like he's trying to disguise himself from them. If anything, wearing the suit you killed them in would probably just piss them off. I'm not really sure. William dies in front of our eyes, and the Fazbear Tomb comes to a close. Overall, I think it's pretty clear that there's a lot I see wrong with this game. However, I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's clear a lot more care went into the storytelling and the designs, which I can appreciate. I know Maroon Fox is already working on the second game, but if you're watching this, Maroon, which I'm pretty positive you are, you need to fix the problems I mentioned in this video before you release the second one, because this game was incredibly frustrating and it did not need to be. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this is actually the coolest FNAF fan game of all time? Let me know in the comments below. In my Fred and Pals video, I asked you guys if you had to survive any official FNAF game, which would you choose and why? And my favorite answer is this one by Professionally Bizarre. They said FNAF 2, and I agree, because realistically, you could just wear the mask the entire night and do everything else at the same time. To subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord, link in the description. Thank you to all of my super fan channel members. You guys drip Riz Liquid. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!